There's a lot of weapons to choose from in Genshin Impact, and these are the top 5 choices when it comes to picking the best budget weapon. Even though a budget weapon by default should always be of 4 stars, it just so happens that for sword users, there's one 3-star weapon that truly shines for everything that it comes packing with. And that's going to be the Harbinger of Dawn, which features not only critical damage from its substat, but also critical rating from the passive skill, even if it's a little tricky to achieve it. And there aren't that many weapons currently that allow you to boost 2 most important stats in the game, and it comes off as a surprise if they come attached on a 3-star weapon, which is odd since the most common strategy would be to use the 3-star weapon from early to mid-game before you upgrade into a 4-star weapon. However, Harbinger of Dawn is one of those few rare cases where you can mitigate the inferior base attack compared to higher star weapons thanks to the substat and passive skill it comes with, and even the base attack itself isn't that bad as well. Now, the reason why this is such an excellent weapon would be the combination of critical rating and damage it provides that works really well with any sword user that wants to be a damage support, so characters like Kaya, Albedo, and the Traveler can have an easier time focusing on the less harder to obtain stats like attack percentage. And the biggest thing that's important to consider when using this weapon would be the passive skill, since it only works if your character has health above 90%, but because of the influx of new characters that provide shields, healing, and other damage mitigation, it shouldn't be too hard if you have unlocked at least some of them. Also, keep in mind that just like with any other 3-star weapon, it is only recommended for you to use it if you have max refined it, since usually that's the biggest deciding factor when comparing it to a 4-star weapon, and of course, if you have a 5-star weapon available, then there's no need to even consider anything and just use the more rare weapon due to how much more base attack it provides. Still, Harbinger of Dawn is one of those weapons that is surprisingly good for sword users, especially if you want them to be used as your damage support, and even in the late game, it still outputs very consistent damage. The newest update of Dragon's Spine not only unveiled the Freezing Mountain and many secrets it hides, but also introduced 3 new craftable weapons at the blacksmith, and while the other 2 weapons, which were the Polearm and Claymore, were excellent for few select characters, the biggest winner of them all when it comes to being a budget weapon was the Frostbearer Catalyst. And the biggest reason why Frostbearer works so well with nearly every Catalyst user is the fact that it provides increased attack percentage from its substat. So whether you prefer to use characters like Sucrose or Mona for utility, and Ningguang Klee or Lisa as your damage dealer, this catalyst should work well on any of them, since this is a game that revolves around damage numbers, and the bigger they are, the faster your enemy falls. It's also nice to have a pretty decent passive skill that will probably work even better once we get a cryo catalyst user, so that it becomes easier to trigger the more powerful version of the icicle. And keep in mind, the icicle the passive produces is not dealing cryo damage, but instead the regular white damage. But if you want to get up-to-date information of every new weapon analysis, make sure to follow us on Twitter, link in the description. All in all, if you ever feel undecided what weapon to use for your catalyst user, Frostbearer could be an excellent choice. Just make sure to understand this is supposed to be a budget weapon that will work for most of the characters, but for more precise choices, there could be better alternatives, although they might not be interchangeable so easily between all the catalyst users. And if you're unaware, this is a craftable weapon that you can unlock once you reach level 10 on the Frostbearing tree, which will award you with the blueprint for the catalyst itself. So happy hunting for those Crimson Agates, and don't forget to do the tasks from the Crimson Wish every Monday and Friday. It's no secret that there's a lack of polearm characters in the game, not to mention the limited pool of available weapons from the gacha and world chests. And because of this very reason, there's actually 2 weapons that are great as budget options for free-to-play players. The first one, of course, is the Crescent Pike, which sports one of the most insane passive skills in the game that can be utilized pretty easily with someone like Xiangling, and the extra attack it provides is truly a game changer. However, one of the biggest drawbacks Crescent Pike has is that its substat is completely useless if you decide to use the character for damage support or utility, since you usually don't use normal attacks with your support characters and leave this responsibility for your main damage dealer instead. And this is where Prototype Star Glitter comes into the picture, and while it has one of the most weirdly designed passive skills in the game, its actual selling point is the energy recharge substat, which works extremely well with Xiangling and Zhongli since they're both excellent as support, and the faster they can activate their bursts, the more elemental reactions and extra energy they can produce from all that chaos. And because the passive skill is designed for someone who should be the main damage dealer, there's no need to further refine this weapon, and you essentially just utilize the energy recharge and the base attack it provides, which will only cost you a single polearm prototype material. But it's still very hard to recommend something that's only usable currently by 2 characters, so if you want to stay conservative with your investing, either of these weapons recommended should serve you well as budget options. When it comes to bow users, they are certainly left in a tough spot because of the very different roles each of them perform. For example, Diona is a shield and heal provider, while Fischl can either be damage support or even the main damage dealer, which is something characters like Tartaglia are excellent at. But to be at their very best, Diona benefits the most from Favonius Warbow, Fischl loves her stringless, and Tartaglia obliterates anyone once he gets his hands on Rust. Of course, this doesn't mean the weapons at the blacksmith are not great, but this is a video about budget weapons, so if you're missing out on any of the weapons mentioned previously, then your best bet would be to obtain prototype Crescent. Now of course, the highly regarded compound bow is excellent, but it's a niche weapon that's currently only best suited for Fischl as your main damage dealer, while the rest of the bow users you would obtain would have no use of this bow because of the physical damage bonus substat. On the other hand, prototype Crescent, just like Frostbird Catalyst, is a safe budget choice that comes with attack percentage as its substat, and even the passive skill is pretty good since you will be using your charge shots to remove the annoying elemental armor on the Futui skirmishers. So with each precise shot, you will end up not only chipping away at their armor, but also activating the passive skill as well, which isn't the most groundbreaking upgrade, but it does the job well. Also, this is going to be an exciting weapon to use with the newly upcoming Ganyu, who has been shown to have a unique charge attack that deals significant amount of damage, so it's entirely possible her playstyle will revolve around charge shots, and it seems like this weapon is going to be a great damage source to her. Either way, you can't go wrong with prototype Crescent, especially if you're lacking any of the bows from the gacha system, and this works as an excellent budget choice for nearly every bow user in the game. If you were to ask someone what's the best budget claymore that's available in the game, most of the veteran players will tell you it's prototype Aminus. However, they couldn't be more wrong about this, because it's actually prototype Archaic that's superior in terms of viability, except, well, it's the same weapon since for no apparent reason, MiHoYo have decided to rename some of the most iconic weapons in the 1.2 update for no better reason than to give us the opportunity to revive the meme of the old Pepperidge farmer remembers. Now this is a weapon that has truly stood the tests of time, and it's absolutely amazing how good it is for both support and main damage dealers. And even if the passive skill has only 50% chance to trigger, it only takes a few swings to create the explosive attack on your enemies, and it only gets better with the substat of attack percentage it provides. Of course, there are weapons like Serpent Spine or Snow Tomb Star Silver that either work great for physical damage dealers or give the much needed critical rating or critical damage that is more valuable and harder to achieve than your regular attack percentage, but for what it's worth, Prototype Archaic gives a ton of value for something that you can craft immediately after a few hours into the game. And this is even a great weapon for characters like Noelle or Xinyan who might want to get some defense going from other craftable weapons like White Blind, but if you're ever planning of running multiple Claymore characters, then passing Prototype Archaic onto your next character you're building will work out great even if they would want more specific stats. So in the end, if you're ever feeling out of options for other great Claymores, Prototype Archaic will be there for you. Even if it's a multi-purpose weapon, it's still going to carry your characters well into the endgame and much more. Let us know in the comments what's your favorite weapon. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel by enabling the bell notification on, and make sure to gently press the like button. And if you want more news and guides, follow us on Twitter, link in the description. Thank you for watching us.